Hey everybody, Joan Zodianz here, and today we're going to talk about Venus signs. If you don't know your Venus sign, then you can fill out a free birth chart, aka natal chart, on my website, zodianz.com. I'll put the link down at the very bottom. Now, a couple things that I've noticed are that people don't understand that they are more than just their sun sign. I mean, I have a moon sign video, I have a Mars video out if you want to check out my channel. Or you can wait to the very end, I'll probably link it there. But a lot of people don't understand that having different planets in place actually influences their sun sign and creates originality in them. Like, it makes everybody unique. You know, you can't just walk around and be like, okay, well, I'm Sagittarius, you're Sagittarius, we're both the same. We'll have very common traits, but we won't be exactly the same. And there's a lot of reasons for that. But when it comes to just astrology alone, it's because you have different planets in different zodiac signs, in different houses, right? Different aspects will make a difference in who you are as a person and how you perceive things. When we talk about the planet Venus, we're talking about how people deal in love and relationships. Now, it doesn't have to be romantic. It's any and every relationship you can think of, right? But it's also how we define relationships, how we define love, how we, want to be loved, how we love ourselves. All right. And if you know the aspects between Moon and Venus, then you'll have more accuracy is what I'm trying to say. But, we'll see. We'll see. So if you know your Venus sign, then let's go ahead and move forward. If you don't know your Venus sign, then, you should pause this video and go on my website and fill out a free chart for yourself. You don't have to put your email or anything shit like that, okay? So let's go ahead and just get into the first zodiac sign. The first zodiac sign will be Aries. So this is if you have a Venus Aries, okay? If you have a Venus Aries, you will find that you are extremely picky. You can be very demanding. You are a fire sign in that placement. So there are a lot of there's a huge learning curve with Aries when it comes to love. And it's because Aries is the first zodiac sign. Okay, so this is somebody who is kind of immature about love in the beginning of their lifetime. You know what I mean? They kind of don't really age out of it. They have this youthfulness to how they love. They want to play all the time. They want that excitement with somebody because they can be very restless. That's what I mean by immaturity, okay? Not that you're, you don't know anything about love. It's constant learning about love, if that makes any sense or not. We are talking about somebody that can be incredibly aggressive or impulsive, like making bad decisions when it comes to love. Because again, there's that learning curve, you know what I mean? It's trial and error. Trial and error when you have a Venus Aries, right? But when you are committed and you are in love with somebody, then you find yourself making them all your world revolves around them is what I mean. You usually want somebody that is like a strong warrior, just like you are. You need somebody who's going to have a thicker skin because you can be quite insensitive, or not insensitive, but you like to joke a lot when it comes to relationships. Like you're lighthearted is what I'm trying to say. You are free-spirited in a way, but there's still that. It is a cardinal fire sign, so you do take life very seriously. And if you have it in Venus, if you have Aries in Venus, you will take relationships very seriously. And that's why they say Aries can be very picky. You know what I mean? You kind of have these ideal standards or how you imagine love should be like. But again, there's that learning curve. So probably in your lifetime, at least in the very beginning, when you start dating, and especially you're young, as a young adult, you'll make a lot of mistakes before you got to kiss a lot of toads before you get the prince, right? Again, you are somebody who's very playful, somebody who can be very, very needy, especially when you're in love with somebody. It's that child. It's like you're almost like a child or very youthful in a relationship. So you're constantly needing that kind of affection or attention. Otherwise, you get restless. You constantly need things to do with that person, or you get restless. It's very hard for you to stay in a long-term relationship with somebody when they start to become stiff or stiff. You know what I mean? when they become boring or routine or anything like that. You need somebody to kind of like mix it up for you. Okay, next zodiac sign we're going to do is Taurus. So if you have a Venus, Taurus, then you are somebody that needs stability in all your relationships, right? You definitely are somebody that is more regimental or more traditional when it comes to love and relationships. You're kind of more like, if you're a man or you're a woman, like you want to play that role. You know what I mean? You have strong definitions or very clear definitions of what, a husband should be, what a wife should be, what a boyfriend should be, or boyfriend and girlfriend, you know what I'm saying? And you are also the type that is gonna be a very, I guess, strict in a way. Let me try to think of nice words, Joan, nice words. You are gonna be somebody who is very strict about where they go with that person or how far they're going to go with that person. For Tauruses, they can be very narrow-minded is what I'm talking about. So you have this, like if you meet somebody, you kind of have this strong, well, I guess you could call it intuition. It's just knowing if you're going to go the distance with somebody. Like you have this, you could be very observant when it comes to checking somebody off. And making sure that they follow all of your, high expectations. It's not like they're delusional expectations. It's not like an Aries where, they have this learning curve still, so they're still trying to figure out what an ideal relationship is. Whereas for Taurus, it transitions into a more responsible lover, somebody that wants something realistic. Okay, that's what we're talking about there. Now, when you are in love with somebody, let's say you cross that, and then you are in love with somebody that you will have that long-term commitment with somebody. You're going to invest in them. When we think about Taurus, we think about investing. Whether it's time, energy, money, whatever it is, you're investing into that person. And you also want to have the family, you want to have the house, you want to have everything materialistic with that person. But then also it's about creating a foundation with that person as well. Like that's how you treat relationships. You can be very, I wouldn't say like you're taking them too seriously, because I've seen people with Taurus Venuses, they can date a lot, but the reason why they're dating a lot is because they have this long like checklist, like, no, this is not going to work in the future. Like, no, 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 no. It could be very difficult for somebody to get yeses with somebody with Venus and Taurus, okay? But also, when we're talking about Venus Taurus, we're talking about somebody who's extremely sensual, somebody who's extremely sensitive as well. So there's that guard up. There's that guard up, but it also depends on the moon too. Like, I don't want to like mislead you with that. Like, there's a guard up only because of that damn checklist. Because they're observing certain things in a person's personality to the point where they will just they'll weed out the weak, is what I'm trying to say. They'll weed out the weak. So there we go. Okay, so the next zodiac sign is Gemini. So if you have a Venus Gemini, you are the type of lover that is more open-minded and flexible. Okay, you love to play around with your partner. You love to do pranks on your partner. You're very thoughtful. And you're very creative when it comes to love and relationships, right? However, this is also the sign of non-commitment, right? And when I say non-commitment, I'm not talking about like immaturity from Aries where they're kind of just this huge learning curve or whatever like that. For Gemini, it's all more about pleasure than it is actual like a responsible, committed relationship. This is like almost like the player sign, right? It can be for a lot of people. But then also Venus in Gemini is the type that likes to justify relationships. And when I say that, I mean, I've spoken to I've done charts for people, lots of people, where they have Venus in Gemini, but they tend to make excuses, or especially when they have like a toxic relationship or an unhealthy relationship, they are the type of person that will try to justify that and try to turn it into a positive, even though it's like a negative. Not that they're unrealistic, but that they can be, okay? Especially if you're still very young. As you get older, you kind of, I don't want to say you grow out of it because that's not really true. What happens is that you start to learn how to have a relationship with somebody who is just as like flexible and like open-minded and just wild just like you are. You know what I mean? Like, you need that kind of partner that's going to continuously, you know, give you and provide you that mental stimulation. Otherwise, you get restless and then you're like, man, I don't want to do this anymore. And then you kind of just disappear. You kind of just disappear. This is also a sign that, you know, want somebody to ground them or need somebody to kind of ground them. And not in a way where it's controlling or suffocating, because this is an air sign, but more on the side where it's like, okay, I'm going to allow you to be who you are, and I'm going to just nourish it. You know, and I'm going to let it, like, it's like a bird in a cage, you know, you don't want to keep it in a cage. You kind of want it to like be around your house, or like build a playpen outside. I don't know how they do those things, but you know, but you get what I'm saying, right? This is a person that needs to fly, to flourish, to, you know, experience things with somebody, whether they do it by themselves with multiple people, or they do it with their partner, but then it's like constant, you know what I mean? They just don't want to be restless. They don't want to get bored. They don't want to do routine, because, you know, coming from Taurus, who is very routine, Gemini is going to hate that. It's the rebellious sign, you know what I mean? So it's like a Gemini is going to hate that in you if you are like that. Now, depending on what your other aspects are, whatever, I mean, it could just open up more fluidity. This is also a sign that's very extremely open-minded about different relationships. So they're very accepting of different kinds of relationships too. Like, they can be, I don't want to say like they're a thought, but they're not. I have nothing against thoughts, okay? But if you have a Venus Gemini in there, you've probably been a little thoughty. You know what I'm saying? Especially in your younger years. You could be a very little, you know what I'm saying? Experimenting. When you think of Gemini, think of experimenting. It's not to say that they can't be in a long-term relationship. They definitely can be, but it has to be a relationship that is providing a lot of mental stimulation for them. Otherwise, like I said, they're just going to be like, I can't do this, you know? I can't do this. I feel suffocated. Okay, let's get into the next zodiac sign, which will be Cancer. Lovely, lovely Cancer. So when we talk about this cardinal water sign, we are talking, well, it's you, right? It's you that's watching this. You are the type of lover that, you know, wants romance. You have these ideas of what family is supposed to be like. You know, you want all the passion. You want to go to the depths of the world with your lover. You know what I mean? Where it's transitioned from Gemini to Gemini being, you know, more of the inconsistent kind of lover, or the lover that wants to experiment with many different types of love. Cancer will be the type that will, you know, focus on one type of love, right? This is somebody that wants like the soul partner with them. They just want this forever partner with them. They're kind of like a penguin, not the emperor penguins, because, or I forget what they're called. I think they're called emperor or king penguins. I can't remember, but the smaller penguins, the ones that have their forever partner. You're more of like that, okay? I know the symbol is the crab, but I always like to think of Cancers more of like, not a crustacean, you know what I mean? Because even though you guys have like guarded walls, and you might find this in yourself where you can be extremely vulnerable, sensitive, and guarded when it comes to love and relationships, even though we have that out there, I still feel like for when you do fall in love with somebody, you're more of a penguin, okay? Because you're that committed to that person. You don't care anybody else around you. Are extremely loyal, and you are extremely faithful to that one person. Now, here's the bad thing about having a Venus in Cancer. You can be overwhelming for some people because you have these expectations or ideas of what love is supposed to be like, and you are so generous with your love that you expect the same thing back. You automatically can assume that people should or will love you in the same regard, right? But you have to remember too, not everybody is as sensitive as you are. Not everybody wants to reciprocate that kind of sensitivity or vulnerability with somebody else, right? So oftentimes you'll find Cancers who are kind of like, I don't want to say like drifting wood, but because they're like holding out for somebody, or because they you know, they're getting frustrated in love, they might find love in all the wrong places, or scare people away. You know, and it's not really your fault. You just know what you want, and so you're not afraid to, like, you know, tell them like, okay, this is how it's supposed to be. But then also you might want to dial that back too and try to figure out why you feel the way that you do. But then also remember, you would do well with somebody who's not as grounded, right? Who's not grounding, I mean. You get what I'm saying? Like an earth sign in that placement, you might not do well with that person. You have to, people who have like water placements in there usually do well with somebody who has another water placement. Especially if you have a Venus in Cancer, right? You usually need somebody who will go to the depths for you. I mean, because for everybody else, it's too deep. It's too deep. So you might want to consider that. I'm not trying to tell you what to do in your life. I'm just letting you know. Usually with people with Venus and Cancers do well with other water signs. So you might think about that, okay? Okay, next sign we're going to go to is Leo. So where we had like attached Cancer, we're going to transition out of that, out of the clinginess, into somebody that's way more independent. However, they do demand or command a lot of attention, affection, and also respect. This is going to be somebody, well, if you have a Venus in Leo, you are that type of person who wants to be a power couple, okay? You want somebody, you expect your partner to pick up their own weight, like to be confident, to be independent yourself. Like you don't want to have to pick up after them. You know what I mean? You don't want that. You want to build with somebody, and not like a Taurus where you want to build a foundation. It's more of like building dreams with that person. It's all about being creative and brainstorming with that person. You know, like when are we going to plan a family? When are we going to do this? When are we going to do that? How are we going to do these things? And then, you know, making sure that you guys both get there. That's what it's like to have a Leo and Venus. But it could be a lot of pressure for people too, right? You're dealing with somebody that, you know, has these demands, like larger than life demands and goals for their partner, for themselves. So you're gonna have to be dealing with somebody who might face a lot of disappointments because of it. And I'm not saying that you can't, you know, things won't happen for you, but when you think about Leo, you are thinking about somebody that always sees things from a grand scale. You know what I mean? The worst things about being with somebody in Leo and Venus is having to always bow down to them. We'll just put it like that. Like you always have to constantly reassure them as a person, not reassure them as your lover. I mean, yeah, that can happen too, but it's more reassuring them in their dreams. Like it's always telling them like, you could do it, you could do it, you could do it. Like, you know, you have to forever a hype man. A forever hype man. But I mean, you'll get that from your partner too. They're not completely selfish. Not like somebody with Venus and Aries where they're kind of more devoted to their own pleasure or their own desires. With the Leo, it's a matured version of that, and you're gonna get somebody who's going to think about more responsibilities in their life, okay? And that's why we talk about somebody who's more independent, and somebody who's also more outspoken and aggressive, sometimes to the point of being a little violent. Can be a little violent, but then again, they're a fire sign, so you can expect that from all fire signs. But for Leos, it can be more of if I'm a female with a Leo Venus, it's more like, this is a queendom and you can help me rule it, but just know that I'm still the queen, okay? And vice versa, if it was a male with a Leo Venus, they're like, I'm the king, you're the queen, know your role. Okay, it's always going to be like that kind of dynamic with somebody with Leo and Venus. Okay, next zodiac sign we're going to talk about is Virgo. So Virgo. So we're coming away or transitioning out of, you know, the queendom. We're going to go into the village where regular people are at. And we're going to go into prude and think of nice words. We're strolling into a village, or more of a church. It's more of a church of a more prudish and very responsible kind of lover. And when I mean prudish, I mean more of the lines like they require somebody who holds themselves up like a gentleman or a gentlewoman. You know what I'm saying? Like a lady and man. Like they have very, I guess, strong definitions of what that's supposed to be. But for somebody as critical as Virgo, they are the type that will like analyze you top to bottom and make sure you're on point. You know what I mean? They are not the type that wants to be with somebody who is like messy, disgusting. Like, this is somebody that wants somebody who's pristine. You know what I mean? Somebody that can keep up with themselves and keep up with the standards of the modern world, the standards of the church, the village, the city. You know what I mean? They're one with people. Okay, and you remember Virgo is the sign of the Virgin. But when we talk about Virgin, we're talking about humanity in general and what's happening in the now. Because it's a mutable earth sign, you're talking about also somebody who likes to not conform. I don't want to say conformity is not it's not what I'm thinking of. It's more of the lines like whatever is modern at that time or whatever is tasteful. They have this very classic feel to them, a very elegant feel, like they want something timeless. With modern society, they're not gonna, it's not like they're the type who jump on the bandwagon whenever a new trend is around. That's not what I'm saying. It's just more of the type like, you know, whatever is standards of human beauty is what they're gonna go for. Does that make sense? Hopefully that does make sense. So if you're approaching somebody with a Virgo Venus, you have to kind of understand that they're probably gonna criticize everything that you do, everything that you say, and everything that you fucking wear. Okay? But when you are in a committed relationship with them, even though they can be very analytical of you, they are also the type that will criticize themselves in love. You know what I mean? Like, they want to live up to those standards as well. They want to be accepted by people as well, but not in the way where it's like always constantly pleasing people. It's just more like they want to be like majority of people. You know what I mean? So for you, it might take a while for them to actually fall in love with somebody because they're always not second guessing. They're always, well, I mean, it is the same thing. They're always questioning the relationship. They're always questioning if there's somebody better, if there's grass is greener on the other side. Of all the mutable signs, this one is the most loyal, but they're also the ones that has to be like 100% sure before they go into a relationship with somebody, because they do take it seriously and they do want long-term with somebody, but they don't want to waste their time. They worry about wasting their time with somebody or being with somebody that, you know, just cannot keep up with themselves, or is just lazy, or is just, you know, not up to their standards as a human. You know what I mean? Like, what can they do in the, you know, in the physical realm that will benefit them? For Virgo, it's not being about a certain type of person. It's more of how are you going to be as a human being in general? How are you as, you know, how are you to the community? How are you going to be with me? How are you going to be with family? How are you going to be, you know, in society in general? But when you do get a Virgo Venus to fall in love with you, they are extremely practical and responsible. Like, they will take care of the finances. They will take care of the home like it's nobody's business. You know what I mean? They know the most efficient ways to do things, or how to resolve situations, because they're more diplomatic. They're not going to get too crazy with you, but again, that depends on your aspects. Like, they're not going to go overboard with things. They're more logical and they're more consistent when it comes to relationships. Just, again, it might take a little bit more time because they need more time to process everything about you. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully that makes sense, you guys. I know it's always a little weird with Virgos because this is the sign of like analytics and like in humanity all at the same time, but they come from an unbiased perspective. They're not very emotional. Like, some people are like, oh, well, Virgos are extremely sensitive. Like, I'm not saying that they're not sensitive, because everybody's sensitive, you know, or they can be in certain situations. But if you have a Virgo in your Venus, like, you are probably you're far away from emotions when you make decisions, especially when it comes to a committed long-term relationship. Okay, let's go ahead and just get into Libra. So we're leaving analytical, critical ass Virgo, and we're going into the fair side of the world with Libra, who needs to balance everything. And when they don't balance things, they freak the fuck out. if things are not their way, they freak the fuck out. Like them and having that type of control is very important for them. Remember, they are a cardinal air sign. Even though they're very fair and they're very patient and very loving to their partners, they are, because they always think of like equality between two people. Okay, equality between in all their relationships, but it's always on their terms. So let's get that straight. Even though Libra may appear to be very like, it's all about justice and equality and fairness between the two, it's on their terms. And a lot of people don't notice that because they're so charming and they're so positive and friendly. I mean, it's not that they don't have good intent for you, but in the back of their heart, they are secretly like, it has to be on my terms. And it's true too. You don't sit there and lie. Now, as a lover, or even just in general with the people with Venus and Libras, they can be very flirty, especially with different types of people. Like, they know how to kind of like use their, charm, and to use their like sex appeal and everything like that. You would think that's more of a Scorpio, but literally people with Venus and Libra, this is the sign of love. Like, Libras love to love, and they know how to use love. I mean, their ruling planet is Venus. So it's in Venus, which is their actual ruling planet. So this is the love of love, okay? This is that sign, right? And they will use themselves to kind of like change the room and the atmosphere, right? Just people kind of gravitate towards them, that positive energy. It's almost like, think of a person, Cardi B is an actual Libra. I don't know what Venus sign she has, but when you think of Cardi B, you're thinking of somebody, when they step into the room, they kind of just light everything up, right? They got that personality about them. People are attracted to them automatically. And you get that with somebody also who has a Venus in Libra, right? This is somebody that knows that kind of power that they have over people, and can abuse it. Yeah, they can. So we're not saying that they treat everybody equally. They only treat people equally if they love them. Okay? If they love them. Or if they're close to them, if they care about them. But a lot of times with Libras, they are thinkers, right? They are an air sign. They're not an emotional being, right? They will separate the two of them because they are all about balance, meaning everything has to be even with each other. Their heart, their mind, their this, their that. And so they're constantly weighing pros and cons with people. And sometimes this can lead to being indecisive, or just holding off on a certain type of relationship, or having plenty of relationships and balancing 10 of them. You know what I mean? It really depends on the aspects of that person. But when a Libra or Venus in Libra is in love with somebody, they take all of that and they put all that energy, all that balance into that relationship. But it might take them a long time to get there, if that makes any sense to you at all. Like, it could take them a long time to just like put all their eggs in one basket, because they're still, remember, they're coming from worried ass Virgo, so it's not exactly like 100% guaranteed they're gonna commit or not think about other things in their life. They might not have the time to give everybody everything. It really depends on the aspect there. So I do want to point that out. Even though they are the sign of like love and everything, because this is their actual ruling planet, they will struggle to find somebody that shares the same ideals as them. Like somebody who's a best friend and a lover, somebody who's independent and then also codependent. Like it's always halves of everything. Hopefully that makes sense. If you ever meet somebody with Venus in Libra and you just talk to them, then you'll kind of get what I'm saying. Okay, so next zodiac sign we're going to go into is Scorpio. I have a Venus in Scorpio, so I just love having a lot of Scorpio in my chart. But we're coming away from, indecisive or not indecisive Libra, the lovers of all lovers, and we're going into the possessive Scorpios. Okay, we're going into possessive ass fucking Scorpio. And I'm not even going to try to deny that in myself. But I will say this. People with Venus in Scorpio are extremely picky, and they will hold out for their soulmate. Like, it's not like Aries picky, okay? Aries is picky because they're still learning about love. But Scorpio is more of like the feeler, okay? It's one of those like, if it's not like, if I don't feel a connection here, then it's nothing. It's dead to me. It doesn't matter, right? This is a sign that can go into isolation, where they can have long periods of time where they don't date anybody, or they're not talking to anybody, and they're okay with that. Like, privacy in them will be very important to them, but trust is even more important to this sign, right? So somebody with Venus in Scorpio will have a hard time trusting people in the beginning. Like, not at all. Like, if the feeling's not there, they're guided by their intuition. You know what I mean? But this is also a sign that when they do fall in love, they can be extremely jealous and possessive, and they want their lover all to themselves. Like, it's true. Luckily, I have like a Taurus husband, and he has a Venus in Aries, right? So he likes a little bit of danger, and I kind of give that to him. But if you have if you have Venus in Scorpio, you're probably borderline psycho. Like, I'm not saying you're gonna like check their phones and like be all crazy about it. It's more of like, if you're following your intuition, you feel like something is off, like you will confront that person and be like, you know, jealous for like no reason, or maybe you do have a reason, you know, I don't really know. I don't know your relationship. But what I do know is that jealousy will be a thing for people in Venus and Scorpio. It's like and you can't really stop it either. You know what I mean? It's like, it's there. You internalize probably a lot of how you feel and what you think. You won't confront them with it right away, or maybe you will, depending on your aspects. But it's more of the sign that's gonna be like, you know, I don't like that person, and they're gonna be like, why? I'm like, oh, because I don't like that person. Do you know what I mean? It's more of that. Like, I don't want you talking to that person because I just feel like something's off. Like, I feel like you have an attraction there, or I feel like that person likes you. Whether or not that's true, it doesn't really apply to somebody with Venus and Scorpio, because again, they're guided by their intuition when it comes to love. Now, this is also a sign that when, you know, even though they're unforgiving in some ways, they can be ruthless in love and everything like that, like, you know, being isolated, not wanting to fuck with anybody. There's that moment where they are extremely sensitive and vulnerable with somebody, so they take that very seriously. If their walls come down and they're being vulnerable with somebody, they take it extremely seriously. And if you fuck with them, then you're probably gonna go in the danger zone. And I'm not just saying that because I have a Venus in Scorpio. Plenty of friends with Venus in Scorpio, and they're pretty much the same way. It's a one-way street with Scorpios. Okay, it's a one-way street, meaning you can't do something, but I can. I'll admit that in myself. Like, the trust with people for Venus and Scorpio, like the trust that you have in yourself, you're like, you know, you're gonna be loyal, you know, you're gonna be faithful. But sometimes it's a little biased, right? It's a little biased, like it's a little biased. But again, if you have Venus in Scorpio, you are gonna be the type that will have to find an actual soul partner, and you use your intuition and everything like that to, you know, feel yourself around. You would think that somebody with Venus and Scorpio is way more sexually charged and everything. And that can be true when they have intimate moments with their partner. It's more of a private thing. They're not very open about it, or they like more exclusivity. I said that all fucked up. Exclusivity. With somebody, they want it more intimate, right? And if you have a Venus in Scorpio, remember, it's coming from Libra, who's also very charming and is the lovers of lovers. But then it's bringing that energy into Scorpio, where they kind of gravitate that, even though they don't want that attention. You know what I mean? Even though they don't want to be loved by somebody, or they don't want somebody to be attracted with them. A lot of people who have Venus in Scorpio, they attract a lot of crazies. Well, not crazy, well, they can, you know what I mean? But they attract a lot of different types of people. Let's put it like that. They attract different types of people, even if it's unwanted. And I think you know what I'm talking about. It's a curse and a blessing for people. And this happens to you if you have a Scorpio moon or if you're just an overall Scorpio. Okay, let's go into the next zodiac sign, which is going to be Sagittarius. So from possessive as Scorpio, we are going into independent, another independent sign, but then also somebody who is non-possessive, like doesn't want to possess anybody, doesn't want the responsibility of a relationship. We're going into philosophical ass Sagittarius, okay? I love Saggies, okay? I'm a Sagittarius on the cusp of Scorpio myself. So I tend to love Scorpios and Sagittarius just a tad bit more, and Virgos. Like, I tend to love Virgos, Scorpios, and Sagittarius just a little bit more, only because they're on my main signs. Like, I have Virgo moon, and I have Scorpio Venus, and I have Scorpio Mercury, so I tend to like these signs a little bit more. Anyways, enough about me. When we go into Sagittarius Venus, we are talking about somebody that wants to have... We're talking about... When we go into... When we go into Sagittarius, we are talking about a sign that loves, loves, loves to be free. You know, this is the sign of the centaur, so it's half horse, half man, meaning they want to be able to roam around and they want to be trusted by their partner. Whereas Scorpio was more of like, the distrust is there, or I don't like what you're doing. Sagittarius is more like, no, you have to trust me automatically because I'm going to trust you. I don't care what you say. It's that type of sign, right? But they're the philosopher of love too. They are mostly thinking about positive things about love, but never really like the negative side of things when it comes to love. Like, as much as the horse side of them is like somewhat realistic, but not really. It's more of that fantasy. Remember, they're like kind of like unicorns, okay? So they're looking for that unicorn, that unicorn lover, or somebody that will, like, you know, be just as philosophical as they are about love, just to be very open about love. They are also very accepting about different types of relationships. They're very close to Gemini when it comes to relationships. Now, this is also the sign that is a free thinker. So they don't want somebody who's going to try to control them. They don't want somebody riding them around until they're broken, okay? They need somebody who's going to, like, ride with them, but then also not abuse that privilege. Does that make sense? They're looking for the right rider. They're looking for the right jockey. Whatever you want to fucking put it. They're looking for that person, right? They also want somebody that's gonna be there for them, like, spiritually as well, because Sagittarians are very spiritual because they're philosophers. So they're looking for a partner that's not going to be rooted in tradition. You know what I mean? This is going to be a very non-traditional sign, but they don't want somebody who's stagnant and rooted in place. They want somebody who's going to go out of their comfort zone and try new things with them. They want those experiences as well. They want to travel the world. They want adventures, okay? But they also can be very insensitive when it comes to relationships. At times, they can be very egotistical or very selfish when it comes to their idea of love or how love is supposed to be. They're not always going to consider everything their partner wants to do, only because they don't like restriction and they don't like conformity. Okay? But at the same time, if you get a Sagittarius Venus to fall in love with you, you're going to find somebody that will always be there for you. This is somebody that's going to ride or die for you. Ride or die. You know, but not like Scorpio where they're going to ride and then try to kill you if you fuck up. This Sagittarians are more philosophical. They're more of the lines like, hey, if you fuck up, you know what I mean? Like, we'll just go our separate ways. I'm just, you know what I mean? I'm going to throw you off my back and I'll probably stomp on you maybe once, but I'm going to move on with my life. And they won't try to restrain their partner. They're not going to try to, like, control their partner or anything like that. This is not that kind of sign. This is a very independent sign where it's like, you live your life, I'll live my life, and together we will be equals to each other. You get what I'm saying? Okay, let's get into the next sign, which is going to be Capricorn. So we're leaving non-traditional, more philosophical Sagittarius, and we are going into responsible, disciplined, and productive ass Capricorn. Love Capricorns. But if you have a Venus in Capricorn, you are extremely traditional and you demand respect, okay, in a relationship. It's not like Taurus where they're also rooted in traditional values. Capricorns they go above and beyond. Remember, these are the goats. These are the mountain climbers of things, okay? They're innovators of how relationships are supposed to be, but they're also deeply rooted to the earth. Okay, so they're like, if you're the man, right? If you have Venus, Capricorn, and you're a man, you're like, I'm the man and you're the woman, know your role. And it's vice versa for the women. I'm the lady, you're the man, know your fucking role. You know, either way, this is the sign of the provider. So this is a family-oriented sign. They want somebody that's going to build that kind of foundation with them too, just like Taurus. But it's more on the lines of like, do it my way. Whereas Taurus was more of like, you know, we need to do this so we can last a long time. Capricorn is more of like, we need to do the building blocks, but my way, because it is a cardinal earth sign. Like, so we're going to do it my way. You're very rooted in, you know, being a family member, being a mother, being a wife, you know what I mean? Like, it's really, really strong beliefs in that. And you don't break them for anybody. Like, you don't break those kind of rules just because. Like, when you love somebody, you do those things because you love them. So this is the sign of action too. Like, I'm going to prove it to you. I'm going to prove that I love you by doing these things for you, and you're going to see it for yourself. They're not really like talkers, or like, I'm not saying that they're not romantic. They are, but it's more of the lines like, I'm a shower, not a teller. You know what I mean? And they expect the same thing back from their partner. They also want their partners to be able to, I mean, they're coming from independent Sagittarius, so they also want independent partners as well. Like, hey, you got to pull your own weight in this relationship or it's just not going to work. Like, how are we going to build our mountain if you can't get your shit together? You know what I mean? They can be very critical of their partners too, because also this is the very last earth sign. So they're taking from Virgo and they're taking from Taurus, and they've learned those things before. Analyzing people and, you know, analyzing material wealth. You'll get that sign with them. So when you do get somebody with a Venus in Capricorn to fall in love with you, you're going to find a partner that's really responsible, really stable, and is always thinking about the finances and financial security, financial stability, and all of these things, like future thinking with their partner. But then also, you know, wanting and having that family with them. It's like strength with a Capricorn. I know it sounds like I'm hyping them up, but it's true. I love Capricorns, and I feel like Capricorns are a very, very strong sign, and they also, like, they demand respect because they are respectful, and they work hard to get that respect. They work hard for their families. They work hard for their spouse. Like, they are all about, you know, putting in that effort for people that they're involved with. So that's why, I mean, I have to give that to them. Why not? You gotta credit those fuckers. Okay, we're going to go into the next zodiac sign, which is going to be Aquarius. So we're leaving traditional, disciplined ass Capricorn, and we're going into, well, there's not much of a difference when it comes to Aquarius. But let me explain what the difference is. So Capricorn is deeply rooted in traditional values, whereas Aquarius will be the complete opposite of that. Still, they are a fixed air sign, so they will have very, very strong beliefs of what a relationship is supposed to be, but they will not conform to what society wants them to be. I know that's a little confusing, right? They could be very unpredictable. They may, you know, get really flighty is what I call it, where it's just like, oh, you know, like, this is too much. Like, or they don't like to get vulnerable with somebody, so they'll kind of just, like, you know, like, fly away from it. And the reason why they do that too is because they don't want to feel restricted or confined, or they don't want to conform to a relationship, okay? You kind of have to trick them. You kind of have to trick Aquarians to be in a relationship with you. And not in a malicious kind of way, because I feel like they can feel that out. But it's more of the lines of, like, you have to be friends with them first and really, really get to know them and understand them before they can actually be in a committed relationship with you. This is a sign that wants, you know, that will treat every relationship the same. Like, they'll be very cordial, respectful. They're a very friendly sign. And sometimes this is misleading for people who have a Venus in Aquarius, where they might give the wrong message to people, and people, you know, might come on to them and they're like, you know, where is this coming from? You know what I mean? And they'll just kind of, like, go MIA because They just don't mean to be that friendly to people, if that makes any sense, right? This is the sign of the humanitarian too. So they work best when they're dealing with lots of people and different types of people, right? They can be very cultured or very diverse. So when you think about the partner that they want to have, it's basically the same thing. They need diversity in a person. They need that complexity in a person. They don't want somebody narrow-minded or anybody deeply rooted in traditions. They want to build their own kind of traditions with somebody, but they also don't want to be restricted by them either. They want to be constant, something new. Just like air, you know what I mean? They are just like air. Like, they're the definition of air. Sometimes they're calm, sometimes they're not. But then also it's going with the flow of air, okay? It's really just, they're very out of this world. It's almost as if anybody with an Aquarius in their chart, they're very strange, I guess. And not strange, I don't think they're weird in a bad way. It's more of just like they're out of this world because they're not from this world. They have those kind of ideas or like definitions about different things in their life, not just relationships, but just everything in their life. They are more philosophical, I guess, in a way. They're kind of similar to Sagittarius. But they do have very out of this world definitions. We'll just leave it at that. It's kind of hard to explain. They're space age. They're futuristic about their stuff. They are not bound to the earth. Okay, that's what it's like dealing with an Aquarius. Aquarius and anything, not just Venus. Okay, the next zodiac sign we're gonna go into will be the very last one, which is Pisces. And I know a lot of you were probably waiting for this, but okay, wait. So we're coming from rebellious or. Not rebellious. Aquarius is rebellious, but not really. They're from non-traditional ass, weird as fuck Aquarius to sensitive, I'm a believer, wise ass, smart ass Pisces. Take that as you will. Pisces, or Pisceans, right? You would say plural. This is the sign of the double fish, right? One going up, one going down. If you have this in your Venus, you are probably the same kind of way. You are struggling to balance between the positive and the negative in yourself, and also with other people, but this is a mutable water sign. So you are a feeler when it comes to relationships, and you also, reciprocate whatever energy is given to you. Okay? And it also depends heavily on the aspects, but we won't get into that. But people with Venus and Pisces, they are extremely romantic, they're extremely sensitive, and they're extremely thoughtful. It's almost like having all the rest of the traits from Cancer and Scorpio, it's being passed down to Pisces. But then also they're coming from Aquarius too, so they're taking a little bit of that as well. Now, when I say we're taking traits from the water signs and from Aquarius, we're talking about the possessiveness, the jealousy, all of these negative and positive traits will go into a person with Venus in Pisces. However, those traits don't come out until they're actually in love with somebody. This is a very fluid and flexible sign. Okay, so most of the time, majority of the time, if you're just dating them, they are very positive people, or they're very shy, or they can be very, they like to play the ideal lover, which is true. This is part of them. It's not the masks that they wear, it is part of them. Now, when you get on their bad side, or if they're having a moody ass day, then you're gonna see the negative ass side of them, the shark in them. Okay, we gotta be we have to choose words. What I learned with Pisces and dealing with Pisces on my pages is that I have to choose sensitive words, because they'll get sensitive and then they'll just attack me. Pisces people are sharks and they're koi fish at the same time. They can be koi, do you see the pun in that? Or they could be sharks and they'll just fucking attack you. I've learned that. I feel like everybody who has an astrology page probably has learned that because of them. But when you're in a relationship with them, You will see both sides eventually, okay? This is a sign that also needs a lot of emotional reassurance from their partner, but then they also need a partner that won't try to restrict them as well. Remember, it's coming from Aquarius that doesn't want any of that. Pisces is the same way. They can be submissive in other ways though. Like they love to be a submissive lover only when absolutely like necessary or when they actually love that person. But they don't want to be restricted when it comes to other things outside of that relationship. Does that make sense? Like this is a very social sign, so they want to continue having friends. They want to still be able to connect with people, connect with the world, connect with nature, connect with anything. You know, they don't want that taken away from them. But if you give them that, they will be submissive to you, as in they are a very sensual lover. They are a very, you know, thoughtful, generous, and they're a very affectionate lover. You know, they're taking all of those good traits from the rest of those water signs, right? But if you try to restrict them, that's where that, you know, pulling from Aquarius, if you try to restrict them or condemn them or, you know, tell them, you know, you can't do this, you can't do that, then you're going to get the bad side of them where they're going to throw that energy back at you. They're going to be just as jealous. They're going to be just as petty. They're going to be just as you. So remember, dealing with somebody with Pisces in any aspect or in any planet, you're dealing with somebody like a mirror. It's always a mirror with Pisces. That's why I always say, like, I gotta throw out sensitive words there. I was like, be so mean. Like, I don't try to be mean either. I don't try to be mean either. But yeah, that's what you get with the Pisces. If you guys have questions or anything related to any of the zodiac signs that I just did, or if you need more information, you could go to my website at zodianz.com, tune into my weekly podcast so you get the energies for the week. You can tune into my monthly zodiac horoscope so I can predict things for you in the month. Or, you know, you could just follow me on Instagram and then, you know, we could talk there because I'm on there a lot. Like, especially for Instagram Live. I might not post daily, but I'm on there a lot for Instagram Live. I'll pull cards sometimes. Sometimes I answer questions there. So if you're not following me, do that. Only if you want to. Don't let me control your life. Don't let me control your life. You have the freedom to do whatever you guys want to. And, you know, look at my other videos and just, you know, check out moon signs. If you have your chart, check out moon signs. Check out Mars, which is going to be the smash or pass version. I'm going to put it up here or here, wherever that's supposed to be. And I will try to make a new video. If you guys have any requests, please request it down at the bottom and I will look over them. But just be positive. Don't be mean to me. Like, I'm sensitive too, okay? I have a Venus in Scorpio, okay? I be sensitive. I try not to look at the comments either because there's mean-ass people in the world, okay? Okay? All right. See you guys later.